This video is brought to you by my generous backers over on Patreon. If you'd like to support the channel and get cool perks like access to the Discord, seeing the videos a week before anyone else, or an entire video dedication, then feel free to check out my Patreon. The link's in the description below. This video is dedicated to Deja Shade. Thank you for your support of the EDH channel. Jeleva, Nephalia's Scourge versus Dragonlord Silumgar, Pir Toothy, and Hazezon Tamar. Well, we've got lands in the hand, so I don't see why we would knock that back. We're not going to be doing much in the early game, but we'll keep it nonetheless. We will just start things off with a tap land from the Flooded Strand, or a turn 1 play from Pir Toothy. Being played by Ron, by the way. These are all patrons today. I'm excited to play with 3 patrons. Haven't played with 3 patrons in quite a while. We've got Valdrieg with Hazezon Tamar. And Outlaw is playing the Dragonlord Silumgar deck. Pir comes down straight off the Mana Crypt and Command Tower. Then a Sensei's Top on turn 1 for Outlaw. So it's just more tap lands for us, I think. Let's go for a black and red source. Rampant Growth from Valdrieg now. Gets them into their Naya colours. And I don't think I've ever seen both Pir and Toothy down as quickly as this. So Pir comes down on turn 1, it's Toothy. On turn 2, we are not going to search for Pir because it's not all that likely that we're going to get into Pir in this deck. Then Pir going in over at Val. Ever-flowing Chalice coming down for Outlaw, so they're up to 3 mana. And decided to use that mana to spin the top. And there's a Solemn Simulacrum for us, so I think we're going to go in for the Chromatic Lantern, and then probably Solemn Simulacrum next turn. Ondu Giant coming down for the Naya player. They'll get a basic interplay tapped on a 2/4 body. And the ramp is continuing to go crazy over here. Crewfix, God of Horizons now. They'll be able to float any extra mana. And now we've got Pir coming in at us. Toothy is a 3/3 going in at Outlaw. What is that? Steel Enchantment going on to Crewfix. You control the enchantment, so Crewfix is now on Outlaw's side of the field. They use a mana to spin the top. Alright, and it's another island for us, so do we want to go for Solemn Simulacrum or our commander? There's no guarantee that we're going to get into haste, so I'm actually going to get down Jeleva here. So Jeleva comes down, and it's only 4 mana to cast her at the moment. So we'll exile the top 4 cards of each player's library. We grab our own Demonic Tutor and our own Volcanic Vision. Over here is, a Path to Exile. And then over here is Memory Plunder. So it's a bit weird the way that it's laying them out. It's putting them underneath creatures and things. Oh, there's a Damnation there as well. Anyway, play the land. And pass over. And we can have a think about what we want to cast. Jeleva triggers on attacks, so you may cast an instant or sorcery that's been exiled with it without paying the mana cost. Bellowing Tangleworm now. Other green creatures you control have Intimidate. And I'm assuming that the sand tokens, whatever they're called, are green. They are Naya tokens. So yeah, they are green and they will have Intimidate. Let's just go through the exile piles quickly. We've exiled our own Prismatic Vista and Ral Storm Conduit. No way of getting those back. Gotten rid of a Cabal Coffers, which is good. And Grave Betrayal, another good one to get rid of. And then we whiffed over here, so we got rid of some mana. And a Wiltleaf Liege, as well as Quarantine Field, and a Blighted Steppe. Toothy going in at Outlaw again, which will put them up to 8 points of commander damage. Oh, a Toxic Deluge, so we're going to be slowed down on that Jeleva front, and Toothy is going to draw a bunch of cards. They go up to 9. But I suppose they had to do that if Toothy was going to keep swinging in at them. That was 2 in a row. So it might just be worth us going for our Jeleva again. Unfortunately, that permanently exiles the Path to Exile, the Tutor, all the other stuff that we had access to. Riptide Laboratory. Maybe we take a turn off if we've got Riptide Laboratory then. We'll have 7 lands next turn. Yeah, I don't think we'll have enough mana next turn to still cast Jeleva and have the Riptide Laboratory held up. But still, let's go for the Solemn Simulacrum. And we can just hold up Narset's Reversal in that case. Yeah, I think going for Jeleva next turn and holding up Narset's Reversal is the thing to do. And then if Jeleva survives, then we can go for Riptide Laboratory. A Nissa Voice of Zendikar coming down for what looks like a token player now. Talisman of Curiosity coming down for Pir Toothy along with a Chasm Skulker. Yeah, that's a really good way to get a bunch of tokens into play, especially in a Pir Toothy deck. The Sensei's Top is coming down for Outlaw again, so I assume they must have tapped that to draw a card previously. I didn't notice that. And there they go with the Sensei's Top, tapping and drawing a card, but not playing anything out, so just deciding to pass it back round to our turn. Let's see what we can get into here. A Limdal's Vault, which I don't mind holding up alongside Narset's Reversal. Yeah, that's pretty nice. So let's go for the island. We'll replay our commander. And our opponent's going for a mana drain on that. Let's just Narset's Reversal now, because I do want Jeleva to land on this one. So mana drain goes back into Outlaw's hand. It's good to know they've got that. And we'll get some library exile off the top. Alright, from our library we've got Worst Fears, a Terminate, and a Frantic Search. There is a Skyshroud Claim and a Rite of Replication over here. And then we've got some stuff here as well. Rise of Dark Realms, Cyclonic Rift, and Spelljack. Looks as though Outlaw has a pretty counter-heavy list. Then we'll just hold back our commander and the Solemn and pass it back round the table. Retreat to Emeria coming down for Val now. That is landfall. You can create a core ally or give your creatures a +1/+1 buff. They go for the core ally in this case. A Bane of Progress now. Was hoping to get a bunch of Solemn Simulacrums from the Rite of Replication next turn. We could have gone Rite of Replication, kicked, after we swing in with Jeleva, and then copied it with Fury Storm and got on an army of Solemns, but it's not to be, thanks to the Bane of Progress. Instead, we get into a Spell Twine. Oh, and that also gets rid of our Chromatic Lantern as well, so we go down a mana as well. Rhystic Study coming down from the Dimir player. And it looks as though we're hopefully going to be able to get in an attack with Jeleva. So let's slam down the Riptide Laboratory straight away. I think we'll go in for the Skyshroud Claim just to get some more mana. And we can go for Fury Storm onto that as well. Yeah, so let's swing in. We'll go at Nissa. And with that, yeah, we've got the Worst Fears, but I think I'd rather go for the Skyshroud Claim here. And I think we'll have to pay into the Rhystic Study as well. Let's go for Fury Storm. And we'll put that on the Skyshroud Claim. Oh, it's not lands. Oh, Skyshroud Claim is forests specifically. Oh, how annoying. Can you tell this is the first time I've played this deck? Not going to find many forests in a Grixis deck. Yeah, apologies for that. I thought we could grab any lands with that. I've played Skyshroud Claim a million times and yeah, just didn't think for some reason. Okay, well, at least we can still get something done here. Let's go Wildfire Devils. And we can still hold up the Riptide Laboratory. I'm going to break my own cardinal rule and not pay for the Rhystic Study. Now, we're going to choose a player at random and they have to exile an instant or sorcery. Okay, so just to rub it in, that Skyshroud Claim that never should have hit the bin is going to come back out again. And is it a May ability? Yeah, you have to copy it, so we're having to feed another card to the Rhystic Study. Yeah, pretty goofy turn. Doubling Season coming down now, and Valdry correctly paying for the study. So the Doubling Season comes down, and then passing over to Ron, who is going to float the mana thanks to Crewfix being back. The Steel Enchantment was blown up by the Bane of Progress. Fairy Artisans coming down now. I don't know if this is going to be a very creature-heavy game, to be honest. But the Fairy Artisans triggers on your creatures entering as well. Ophiomancer for Outlaw. That's a favourite of mine. Goes really nicely with a Skull Clamp. And that means that Ron is going to get a copy of that thanks to the Artisans. Outlaw trying to make a deal with Ron there, but Ron not taking him up on it. Yeah, Jeleva never played against her really, but I think mill and exiling the top cards of people's libraries and stuff is something that people are just going to automatically dislike. So Outlaw has his eyes firmly locked on us, wanting to get rid of both of our creatures. So at the end of the turn we'll go in for Limdul's Vault and see if we can grab anything. Or do we? Our opponent seems to have an answer for Jeleva, so I'm actually not going to do that because they might play into it anyway, even though they'll give Ron a copy of whatever creature it is that they're looking for. Yeah, 2-mana creature that gets rid of our Jeleva. Not sure what that's going to be. Anyway, both the Ophiomancers will trigger. So that is a couple of death touches each. And then the Wildfire Devils will trigger, and that will pick someone at random. It picks us. So that forces us to use our own Narset's Reversal, which is completely pointless, not having the best of luck here, are we? So we won't bother casting that. Ooh, Aminatu's Augury. Exile the top 8 cards of your library. You may put a land from amongst them onto the battlefield. Until end of turn, for each non-land card type, you may cast one of them without paying the mana cost. I'd like to do that with a Fury Storm or something like that. You know what, seeing as how Outlaw seems to want to target us, let's go for Nissa again. And then we'll say yes, and we'll actually target something properly this time. There's a Rift. Yeah, let's go for Worst Fears. And we'll target Outlaw with it. Say yes to paying for the study. And then let's go Fury Storm as well. And I'm going to target different players. Actually didn't hold up Limdul's Vault there like I should have done. Anyway, let's say no to the Rhystic Study because I want to hold up the Riptide Laboratory. We get 2 copies of Worst Fears. And then Outlaw goes for the Mana Drain, which we can do nothing about, no counters in hand. And because our opponent stacked that correctly, we actually don't have anything to copy with the Fury Storm. So we just get a bunch of Fury Storms that do absolutely nothing. If I'm being honest, I completely forgot about the Mana Drain that was still in my opponent's hand. Blighted Woodland is going to be sacrificed now, and they're going to fix their mana a bit more. And another Nissa, couple of plant tokens thanks to the Doubling Season. Now 5 mana floating from the Crewfix. And a Consecrated Sphinx. Eesh. Yeah, Consecrated Sphinx is the type of thing you want to be countering. But it seems as though neither of us have counter magic held up. Could actually swing in next turn and go for Rite of Replication onto that. All depends if our Jeleva survives or not. The Fairy is flying over at Nissa. And then Ophiomancer goes in at Nissa as well. Token copy of that. Yeah, it looks like everything's going in at Nissa here. Surprised they're not swinging in at us with that little army that they've got there. Or actually, it's a pretty big army thanks to the big 9/9 Bane of Progress. There's no trample here, so they're just going to block with near enough all their plant tokens. They'll be left with a core and a plant. And the flying damage will get through for 2 onto Nissa. Mana Drain triggers on Outlaw's turn. They get 8 colourless mana there. And in for Dragonlord Silumgar. Gain control of a target creature for as long as you control the Dragonlord Silumgar, and I would think that should go on the Consecrated Sphinx, but I wouldn't be surprised if they took our Jeleva because they've definitely told us how worried about that they are. Although the Fairy Artisans is already doing some work and they'll get a copy of their own Dragonlord Silumgar. So with their token copy, it looks like they're taking the original. And then the original is pointed in fact at the Fairy Artisans. That's surprising. I definitely would have taken Consecrated Sphinx there. But maybe our opponent's got some kind of plan. And now I'm looking over here, it seems as though, yeah, Ron might have made a mistake there and killed off the wrong Dragonlord Silumgar, so the original is still back over here for some reason. Anyway, drawing a card which triggers Consecrated Sphinx. That puts a bunch of plus counters on Chasm Skulker. Essence Flux is going on to the Fairy Artisans to keep it from being stolen. So everyone keeping everything they already had, by the looks of it. And now a Gilded Drake. Now we've got a heavy control game, seemingly. There's a lot of card draw and counter magic bouncing around all over the place. So even more card draw coming off of that Consecrated Sphinx. And then when Outlaw draws 2 cards off of the Arcane Signet, Consecrated Sphinx will draw them 4. No idea what they were aiming for with that Gilded Drake, but it is going to be counted. Now Propaganda coming down for Outlaw. And that seems to be that. Should have held up the black mana for Limdul's Vault. Could have gone for that at the end of this turn. Try and get ourselves into some more mana. And at the beginning of our upkeep, Wildfire Devil triggers. Chances are we're going to be exiling counter magic, considering all the counters that are being cast. But anyway, it's 1 card being drawn over here from Arcane Denial and 2 over here, assuming that they go for the drawing 2 cards. They decided not to, surprisingly, because of the Consecrated Sphinx. I think I would have gone for the card draw anyway. Anyway, let's see what this Wildfire Devils gives us. It's done pretty much nothing for us so far, but I think it's very much game dependent. Alright, a Rampant Growth, I don't mind that. So we'll get ourselves into a mountain. We'll pay into the Rhystic Study. And then we draw into Swarm of Intelligence. We're getting into all of our big stuff and we don't have the mana to go with it. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you can copy it. And that's new targets for the copy. Let's attempt to swing in with Jeleva. And we'll go in at the Nissa again. And let's actually, why don't we go for Rise of the Dark Realms and try and get this Gilded Drake going? Yeah, because we'll actually get more value out of that, won't we? There's an Ondu Giant here for some more mana, a Bellowing Tangleworm for blocking. Yeah, we don't get as much as I would like out of it, but yeah, let's go for Rise of the Dark Realms here, because we still end up with a Consecrated Sphinx and we actually take it away from our opponent as well. So we'll go Gilded Drake onto the Consecrated Sphinx, and then Solemn and the Ondu Giant will get us a land each, assuming we've got enough basics in the deck actually. A copy of Gilded Drake comes down with the Fairy Artisans, so that takes away our Jeleva. I'm actually going to bounce that in response, so that fizzles that Gilded Drake. But there's 3 more triggers with the Artisans yet. They get their own Solemn, their own Ondu Giant, and then they end up with their own Bellowing Tangleworm. Oh, being punished for not running enough basics. Mistakes left, right and centre, but it is my first run out with this deck and I'm not much of a Grixis player, as I'm proving in this game. So more basics for the deck, apparently. Not even going to bother looking with the Solemn, and then with the Gilded Drake we'll swap for the Consecrated Sphinx, and we'll hold up the Limdul's Vault, unless our opponent's got something to do with that. Going for Displace. Exile up to 2 target creatures you control and return them under their owner's control, so a lot of flicker here. Not something you'd expect from Pir Toothy. Flickering the Bane of Progress, we'll get a card draw from the Solemn at least. It gets rid of Doubling Season, the Rhystic and the Propaganda. But we don't end up taking the Consecrated Sphinx here. And Ron is up to 14 cards in hand. We do get a land to make after all that at least, so we'll go for the Command Beacon. And we'll just hold up the Limdul's Vault. Yeah, so only 4 basics in the deck. Apparently I need more than that. We could probably forego things like Luxury Suite and Morphic Pool. And this Chasm Skulker is up to... what is it going to be? 2020, I think. Oh no, 21-21, because it already is a 1-1 before the buff. Bane of Progress is at 6-6. They've got the Bellowing Tangleworm token. Yeah, I think Ron, with the Pir Toothy deck, is the deck to be looking at here. A Fumigate, excellent. So that's going to wipe the board. It's going to leave a bunch of Squid tokens in play. But I think going for Spell Twine next turn might be an idea, because we'll be able to grab ourselves a Worse Fears. And then the Rise of the Dark Realms is back over here because we cast it. So, yeah, I think that's our current plan. Rise of the Dark Realms will get us a hell of a lot of advantage after that board wipe. Unfortunately, there's 18 tokens in play now, and I've no idea where they're going to be aimed. So going for Limdul's Vault onto counter magic seems to be the best idea, depending on if people tap out or not, because we can go Spell Twine for 6 and then hold up the counter magic that we draw into next turn. Anyway, we'll see what happens. They played a Cultivate after that, by the way. Just chatting away to Val, who said that it was probably the wrong play to go for the Wrath. I don't think it was, because there was way too much going on across the way from the Simic player. In the meantime, they have gone for Wilderness Reclamation with a bunch of cards in hand. That's not good. And then Leyline of Anticipation has come down as well. That is Flash and untapping your lands every turn. So that is, what is it called? Prophet of Kruphix, which is banned in multiplayer, as we're about to find out why, I have no doubt. Swinging all the squids in at Valdrieg because they are at 53 life. Acquire now. Search a target opponent's library for an artifact and put it into play under your control. They have... I don't know who they've targeted with that. They have targeted Ron. It seems as though Ron is public enemy number 1 at the moment, as he probably should be. Built a very powerful deck by the looks of it. Following things up with a Mystic Remora. Yeah, we'll just let them have that before we go for the Limdul's Vault. They can have a card. I think we all need to be... There's only 3 cards over here and 4 here, and I need all the help I can get dealing with the Simic player. They've got as close to infinite mana as you can get without having infinite mana, and they can play at instant speed as well, so I'll be very, very surprised if we can get this Spell Twine off. But we'll try. We'll try and get some counter magic out with Limdul's Vault. No counters there either, although I do like the Blatant Thievery. No counters there either, wow. Although Dualcaster Mage... Yeah, it might have been worth keeping the Dualcaster Mage actually, but we've clicked it now. Mission Briefing will not do it either. Can't believe how far down we're having to dig to get counters. Alright, a Negate... Yeah, we could go for Negate, but I'd rather have Mana Drain, to be honest. Because they might have something weird like Venser or the Snake that counters something, and Negate doesn't counter a creature. Alright, there we go, the next one down. And then a Snap Mage as well, so that's good. Let's go no. Then we go Dig Through Time. The Hanweir Battlements. The Snap Mage, the Scroll Rack, because we can draw into all that stuff, and then a Mana Drain. So now, let's attempt to go in for this Spell Twine. We'll target our Worst Fears and our opponents, Rise of the Dark Realms. We will not pay into the Mystic Remora, too expensive. And here we go, Ron has some counter magic clearly. It's a Swan Song as well, so they've probably got easy backup with that. So we just have to hope that they don't have another counter spell in all of that. But they've got 12 cards in hand and a heap of mana, so they probably do. At least we're giving cards to outlaw. Oh wow, and it actually lands by the looks of it. That's very surprising. So we'll take control of Ron's turn. And certainly cast Rise of the Dark Realms. Yeah, I'm very surprised that went through. So that's 2 more non-creature spells that we're playing. So we're just filling up Outlaw's hand. They're going to be at 10 cards in hand. But if this Consecrated Sphinx sticks, then we're going to be in a bunch of cards ourselves. Might be that Ron has a Cyclonic Rift or something to get a bunch of stuff back into their hand that we're about to reanimate, but we just have to take the chance that we have. We'll put Wildfire Devils, then the 2 fetch creatures that we can't make use of. And then Bane of Progress is actually going to blow up these 2 things as well as our own Solemn Simulacrum, so yeah, I actually don't mind that. The only creature that we can grab is a squid, so that's the worst Gilded Drake ever. And Ron is holding priority, so I assume he's got something to do. Ah, there we go. That's exactly what I said in Cyclonic Rift, so we'll draw a card at least. I don't know why we're drawing cards there, actually. I don't know who drew. Oh, of course, it's from the Mystic Remora, which wasn't paid into, surprisingly. So they might want to hold, yet again, something else up. And we get into the Snap Mage and the Scroll Rack, which we knew about. Doesn't matter about any of the creatures. But Rift will put Wildfire and Solemn back into our hand at least. And then they're playing the Fairy Artisans at instant speed, which I don't know what the aim is there. Bane of Progress still blows these things up. And then we don't get a squid because we don't have the Gilded Drake in play anymore. Yeah, we'd be ramping a lot more if we had basics, so regretting my land base here. Wildfire Devils allows us to choose something of our own. We'll just pick the Limdul's Vault, and we'll cast it and reorganise some stuff on the top. Gilded Lotus and some lands. Yeah, I'll actually keep that, so we'll say no. And probably just cast Gilded Lotus. We'll do a setup next turn. Let's go Dig Through Time, Hamweir Battlements, the Mission Briefing, the Drowned Catacomb, and the Gilded Lotus. Then Worst Fears, we still take control of Ron's next turn. And we might as well get down this Scroll Rack because I'm not going to go for the Snap Mage. Oh, we've actually got Floating Mana somehow. Oh, is it worth going for Scroll Rack now then? Let's go for the Scroll Rack. We'll put the Solemn, the Aminatu's Augury, Yawgmoth's Will, and Swarm Intelligence on top. Just doing this to get into a land because I don't think we've played one this turn. Oh, but I was F6'd annoyingly. Mistake number 27. The Undo Giant coming down again because everything was rifted back to the hand by Ron. So a couple of Undo Giant triggers. And we're relying on Valdrieg to get a big flyer into play at the moment because I will definitely swing the Fairy Artisans into a big flyer. Then a Harmonise from Valdrieg as well. So they are up to 6 cards in hand. And cycling an Ash Barrens for a basic land. Alright, now then, what can we do here? There's nothing we can do at instant speed, I don't think. There's the Sphinx, the Chasm Skulker, Ghostly Flicker. We can waste their Mystical Tutor. Just telling my opponents there that it's not letting me go for Mystical Tutor during the upkeep. Which is annoying, because I would like to go for, I mean, I don't know what's in my opponent's deck, but an Evacuation or something like that. Maybe go for a counter to play the Consecrated Sphinx and counter it. Yeah, they've got 47 cards in the library. I don't think we're anywhere close to decking them. Our things are highlighted. Alright, yeah, it wouldn't let me do it during the upkeep, but it'll let me do it in the main. Which, yeah, that is annoying. Anyway, Return of the Wild Speaker is just draw a bunch of cards. what can we get with Praetor's Council? I mean, pretty much the only thing I can see here is going Praetor's Council, which they're going to do during their turn anyway, and then using counter spells to counter their own stuff. Well, we know there's more counters in the deck at least. Probably just put Rampant Growth on top, seeing as how we can't draw into anything. Then Bane of Progress only blows up our stuff. Yeah, if our opponent had more mana, we could do more with all this, but anyway. Let's just go Heroic Intervention. We'll go Ghostly Flicker onto the squids. And then we will Strip Mine onto their own land. And I think everything else we play is just helping them out, to be honest. Yeah, not being able to go for the Mystical Tutor really messed us up there. I would love to have gone for Consecrated Sphinx and counter it. That's the main thing I'm worried about. Oh, and of course, it floats the mana, doesn't it? Which we don't want, so we're probably best. No, we still force them to do it during their turn. So let's swing all of these in an Outlaw. So we'll distribute the damage equally between everyone. Seems as though Outlaw wanted me to make Kruphix into a creature, so that it could be wrapped up in some kind of board wipe or something like that. But I didn't want to play out any more permanents and help my opponent out. Oh, the graveyard's being exiled. Does not sound like a good idea, although I think... Yeah, I don't think we have access to... No, we don't have access to Rise of the Dark Realms anymore, so perhaps I don't mind as much. Although we do have Snap Mage into Mana Drain. Now, Gilded Drake comes down from Outlaw. And they're probably going to take that Fairy Artisans, but the problem is, with Fairy Artisans and Gilded Drake, is that they end up swapping creatures all over the place. So they get their own copy of Gilded Drake, which targets the original Gilded Drake. And I don't know if that counters it. Yeah, they get the original, but the token comes over here. And yeah, it does counter it. So the Fairy Artisan stays over here. That is a real pain in the neck card to get rid of. Now a Mimic Vat, which we really don't want to see the Artisans underneath. So even a board wipe doesn't clear us out of that thing. Now, with everyone tapped out, that's 7 mana. That'll be 11. Do we have enough to get down Jeleva with haste and a Swarm Intelligence? No, we're 1 land away. Had I have played that land last turn, I think we would have been able to do it, annoyingly. But we've got the Fury Storm at least, which we can go for with Snap Mage. So I say we still go for Jeleva here. Although I don't think we have enough for Snap Mage into the Fury Storm either. Our opponent gets a copy of Jeleva as well, but it doesn't exile anything off the top because it hasn't been cast. And therefore no mana has been spent on it. We can give our commander haste. Yeah, and we're 1 land short of going for Fury Storm with Snap Mage, unfortunately. Oh no, we're not. We're way more than that. Anyway, let's give our commander haste. And I haven't actually looked at what we've exiled yet. Yeah, we know about the Dig Through Time, Aminatu's Augury, and Yawgmoth's Will. There is a Demonic Tutor. And what is that? Destroy all creatures, return a creature put into a graveyard this way. Under your control, it's black. Okay. Maybe we just go for the Fairy Artisans with that, although it'll probably get exiled. Then over here, Animus Awakening will be 0, and Sylvan Reclamation. Oh, that could actually get rid of Kruphix. Well, we'll swing in anyway. Definitely use the ability. And there's a Rampant Growth under here as well. It's much easier when they're all highlighted. Yeah, should go for Sylvan Reclamation maybe. But just for the fun of it, I'm going to go for Aminatu's Augury. And we can choose a land here. So let's see, I think it's just Reflecting Pool. And then we've got a tiny little exile zone to fill through. We've got only 2 cards out of all that. We've got Fact or Fiction and Mystic Confluence. So we might as well go for the Mystic Confluence. We'll get rid of the Fairy Artisans, make them play it again, and we'll draw a couple of cards. Bedevil is good to hold up for the Mimic Vat. So I think it's as good a time as any to go for the Gilded Lotus now. We'll hold up the Riptide Laboratory. And then do we even care about the Swiftfoot Boots? I don't think so. I think I'd rather hold up Snap Mage into Mana Drain. Just in case someone goes on with a game-winning creature or combo or something. Yeah, surprised with that Aminatu's Augury. We actually whiffed quite heavily on that. Might be worth not having that in the deck, maybe. But this is my first run out with this deck, of course, and I've never played a Grixis Spellslinger deck before, so I'm sure you can all advise me in the Discord and in the comment section. More tokens coming down. These are Ooze tokens. That is Gelatinous Genesis. XX green Ooze tokens. And now it looks as though we've got a bunch of Squid tokens swinging in at us. But they are spreading the damage out between myself and Outlaw. Yeah, so it looks like it's me and Outlaw that are taking the damage. Jeleva triggers but doesn't have anything underneath herself. And there it is, Return of the Wild Speaker. We knew it was going to come down to this, but I didn't want my opponent to start the turn with all those cards in hand. I wanted them to use 5 of their mana to get into it. Oh, and forgive me, I forgot about the other mode on that. Completely forgot about the other mode. Oh wow, this is, yeah, I have to run Jeleva again because I've just completely messed up all over the place on this. Whenever I use this card, I don't use it for the +3/+3. I just use it to draw cards. And, yeah, obviously completely forgot about this mode. Oh, whatever, it won't stay held up. Yeah, so didn't think that we were going to get taken out there. I thought these were going to be 1/1s, but they jumped up to 4/4s, taking out both myself and Outlaw. But as bad as it feels going down to a mistake like that, I'm glad the game's over because it's been going on for a hell of a long time now. If time was no object, then I would have taken even longer than I already have. I'm always behind on the clock because I have to commentate and make sure that everything that's happening is really clear for the viewer, because there's only so much editing can do that. And it just means that I take much more time to play out the game. Oh wow, Rift as well, yeah. That's probably going to seal it. But yeah, I would have gone through all the cards with a fine-tooth comb and made sure that I understood everything that was going on. They've gotten down there, Prophet of Krufix again, by the way. And yeah, would have made sure that I knew what everything did, and then I wouldn't have made a mistake like that. But unfortunately, time is something that we have to consider here. So just making mistakes all over the place in this one, but got a good showing from the Simic player, Ron. And they've got a bunch of cards back into hand. Did they cast that Praetor's Council? Their graveyard is near enough empty, so they must have done. And Ron turns everything sideways. They had the Return of the Wild Speaker back in hand thanks to Praetor's, whatever that thing's called, where is it? Praetor's Council. So I dare say they could have gotten rid of us anyway, even if I had cast this, which I should have done. I should have gone for +3/+3 on a bunch of stuff, and maybe taken out Valdrieg and Outlaw. Then it would have been down to a 1v1 situation, and I probably couldn't have won from there anyway because there was just too much value going on over here, along with all the ramp as well. We didn't have as much mana as they did. Yeah, but it's a good outing anyway. I learnt a few things from Jeleva, a few things I want to change up, so I'll have to play it again and see what happens on that front. You need to let me know if you actually want to see Jeleva again or not, because I like what I saw, I just didn't play her very well. Anyway, be sure to leave it a thumbs up if you do want to see her again. Hit the subscribe button so you can stay up to date with more videos from the channel, as they are uploaded multiple times a week, and I will see you all in the next one. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.